So now let us start. So here today we are going to again talk about the system as we have discussed earlier. We are coming to now what is equilibrium state. We have already defined it. We'll once again just say what is the equilibrium state and go further. So equilibrium state is nothing but the most probable state. So it is a macro state of the system in which the system will stay for a longer time compared to any other state. That means it is a macroscopic state of the system that does not tend to change with time. So whatever macroscopic parameters the system has when it is in this particular state will become time independent parameters. They will remain the same, they will not change. But even though we say so, we have seen that the other macro states also have some probability to appear. That means the system has maximum probability to be in a particular macro state, and we are saying that is the equilibrium state. But at the same time, it has some probability which can be less than the probability of the most probable state, which can be much less also, but still there is some probability of the system being in some other state also. That means there are possibilities of fluctuations of the parameters of the system. And we have seen that if the number of particles is small, for example, when we took total number of particles in the system as 4, the most probable system, the most probable macro state had 6 microstates. The probability of that was 6 upon 16. And the very next macro state had a probability of 2 by 3, 4 by 6. So that is not much different. So the fluctuations in the state of the system will be larger if the total number of particles in the system is smaller. As the total number of particles in the system goes on increasing, the fluctuations will go on decreasing. Once the system is taken away from its most probable state, it will definitely come back to the equilibrium, that is the most probable state, and the time it takes to come back to that particular equilibrium state is called as relaxation time. For example, when you have simple pendulum, when you take the pendulum away from its steady position, it cannot stay in that particular position. It tries to come back to its steady position. The time it will take to come back to steady position from its displaced position is the relaxation time of the pendulum. Now let's see how these things which you observe every day are related to the concepts which you have studied here. For example, we say that the sky, we see that the sky is blue. Often it is blue. Now what is that particular concept that is making it blue? You must have studied this from optics point of view. Now let us see from statistical mechanics point of view, why do we see sky blue? Now scattering of light happens when there are density fluctuations. If your glass has same density everywhere, then the glass can transmit the light easily. But if there are different densities in different portions of the glass through which the light is passing, because of the density fluctuation, the light will get scattered. So when light is not getting transmitted fully, it's getting scattered, we cannot see it fully on the other side. Okay. Now here, when there are density fluctuations in the material through which the light is going to pass, then that will change the refractive index and absorption coefficient of that medium through which the light is supposed to pass. The amount of fluctuation density depends on number of particles in a volume of the medium, and that volume which we are talking about, we are considering volume of the order of lambda cube, where lambda is wavelength of the light which is passing through that medium. So if this lambda cube becomes smaller and smaller, definitely the number of particles in that particular volume becomes smaller and smaller. And as the number of particles becomes smaller, then we have seen that the fluctuations are larger. That means the change in probability of a particular macro state from that means we can talk about the relative probability of a macro state compared to its steady state or the most probable macro state. That change is not much, the change is less when the number of particles is less. That means if we consider same medium, but now we are talking about different lights. If you consider different lights, that means we are talking about different wavelengths. So the light which has smaller wavelength will have to consider smaller volume of the medium. Now, if it is if we are going to consider smaller volume of the medium, definitely the number of particles we are considering is smaller, and so the fluctuations which will be noticed in the macroscopic parameters like density and refractive index of the medium will be larger. And so we find that the light which has smaller wavelength gets scattered easily. And so we see that shorter wavelengths will experience more fluctuations, and that's why the blue color gets more scattered. And so we often find that sky is blue. Now let's come to this particular point, which is based on the same thing that we talked just now. Gas in critical state is often opaque. Now what does it mean? If the light cannot pass through it, cannot get transmitted through it, we cannot see the light which is on the other side of the gas, and we say that the gas is opaque. And this will happen if the light is getting scattered instead of getting transmitted. This can happen if there are many density fluctuations. When gas is in critical state, that means there are 3 different phases appearing simultaneously, and the 3 phases will have different densities. The density in gaseous state is much different from density in the solid or liquid state, and because of these large variations in densities, there will be many scatterings happening, and so the gas appears opaque. Okay, then there is one more thing which you have studied and observed, and that is Brownian motion. And this Brownian motion also can be explained with this particular concept of statistical mechanics. The Brownian motion is observed usually with only tiny particles. We don't talk about Brownian motion of bigger particles. We talk about Brownian motion of tiny particles. Notice this Brownian motion, that the particle starts moving randomly. Okay. Now, when we are talking about tiny particles, the surface area of the particle is very small. Okay. Now, this surface area is small, and so the number of particles of the medium which are coming in contact with this tiny particle are less in number. As this number of particles coming in contact with this tiny particle are less in number, the possibility of fluctuations in the macroscopic parameters of the system around this particle is large. There are large fluctuations also in the number of particles coming in contact with the tiny particle. And so we find that there is a Brownian motion. So now let's go to the next concept. What is an ideal classical gas? We already mentioned this, but we had not talked about this particular phrase, ideal classical gas. We started with our system where we are saying that the particles are far away from each other. They are not interacting with each other. So now we'll speak about the same thing in different way. And that is, you know that there is a de Broglie wavelength associated with every particle, right? And so if this de Broglie wavelength, how is de Broglie wavelength given? De Broglie wavelength is
h by p,
right? So it is lambda, which is equal to h by p, where p is the momentum of the particle. Okay, so this de Broglie wavelength, if is much smaller than the distance between the 2 particles, the average distance between the particles, then we consider this gas as ideal classical gas. That means now, because this de Broglie wavelength is much less than the average distance between the 2 particles, the probability or the chances of the particles colliding or interacting with each other reduces drastically. And then we consider this gas as ideal classical gas. Okay, and in other way, we'll see it later, but I am just mentioning it now. When we are talking about a gas which is at much higher temperature, the density of the gas is reduced to a smaller value, and then it definitely becomes ideal classical gas. Okay, Then we come to the next concept, that is irreversibility. Notice this irreversibility. So I'll explain you it in a situation in the class. In the class, if you have only benches put only in one half of the classroom and students are supposed to sit only over there. Now, there are different configurations in which students will sit. Okay, that means it is possible that on some bench there is only one student, on some other bench there are 5 students, and so like that there are number of configurations. But there is always a particular configuration which is most probable. Okay, now right now I don't want to consider about the most probable configuration, but I want to see the number of configurations which are possible. So there is certain number of microstates, that means some certain number of possible configurations for the students to sit on that side. Okay, now let us consider that we are saying that there can be only 3 students per bench. But even if we put that constraint, there are going to be large number of possibilities of students occupying the benches. So that means there are number of different microstates or configurations possible. Now, at a certain time, suddenly we say that the other half of the room also can be occupied. So students can shift if they want on the other side also. That possibility is given to you. Okay, definitely if this side there are more students on some benches, they will shift on the other side. That means now if students are shifting on the other side, definitely the number of configurations is now going to be more, and after some time they will settle down. So in the previous case, when they were only in one half, they had already settled down. Once we allow them to shift to the other side, there will be a process where they are going from one place to other place, and that process will continue till the whole class, the benches in the whole classroom are now occupied and students have settled down. So they come to a new stable or steady condition. Okay, now I'll explain this in terms of gas. So if you have, I'll just draw the picture here itself. If you have a container, but you are keeping a partition over here, and gas is there only on only in one half of this whole container. So these gas particles now can take different places in this particular one half of this particular box. That means there are certain configurations possible for these particles to take place here. So there is certain number of possible microstates for the gas particles to be over here. Now if you remove this particular partition, the gas particles will start spreading. So just before removing this partition, the gas was in a steady state over here. Now when we remove this partition, these particles will start moving over here, but it is not that all of a sudden all will move here and occupy the full volume V. Okay, so there will be some time for these particles to now spread evenly everywhere and now to reach a certain macro state, which is a new steady state. They will take some time. Okay, now this particular process, we want to see whether it is going to be a reversible process or irreversible process. So when I gave you example of a classroom, now once the students are occupying the full class, if again you are told that now only one half of the room is available for you, you cannot now spread yourself in the full classroom. All these students will have to come back to the first half. It is possible because students can actually get up and come over here. Okay, but in this case, can we actually now make sure that when this full volume is available for the gas at any given certain time, whether all these particles, even though the full volume is available for them to take place in, can they be actually coming only in this one half? Yes, they can, because out of all possible microstates, there will be a particular microstate, or there can be few microstates where all the particles are only over here. That particular state will be now much less probable compared to the state where some particles are here. So it is possible that out of n, n minus 1 are here, but still one particle is here. And we are looking for all n particles here, right? So this process where initially all n particles were only here, and now we are saying that we have opened the partition and so the n particles are occupying full volume. Whether now it is possible to see that all n particles occupy only this much portion of the box and no particle is here or not. It is possible, but the probability of that is very, very small. If that is 100% possible, we can say that the process is reversible. But if it is not 100% possible, we can say that the process is irreversible. Clear?
Ma'am, we are again keeping the partition, right?
No, I'm not saying that I haven't yet come to that point. I'm saying without keeping partition. There are some microstates on this side. There are some microstates on this side. There are some microstates where, when I'm saying them, some microstates this side means with all n particles here in particular way, all n particles here in particular way, and there are some microstates where few particles are here, few particles are here. So when full box is open to them, what is the chance that few particles are here and few particles are here? And what is the chance that all n particles are only on one side? So the chances that all n particles are on side will be now less than the chances that full box is occupied. So at least one particle is here, okay, or more than one is here. Those chances of at least one or 1 to n minus 1 over here will be more than all n over here. Is that clear? Okay. Now, it is the way as you just now asked. It is possible that mechanically we can actually have, instead of a partition over here, we can say that we actually have a piston over here. Okay. So initially that piston was pushed till here. So all the gas was here. Now I pull this piston away on this side and I make full volume available for the gas. Mechanically now I can actually push the piston here and make these particles again come back to this particular portion only. But in both the cases, when you have removed the piston from here, brought it here, for the particles to now occupy full volume and come to a steady state, they will take some time. So initially when piston is here, they always stayed in steady state, staying in this side. When I pull the piston over here, they will come back to new steady state. But between these two times that the piston is here and the piston is then pulled back over here, there will be the time when the system is not in a steady state. Once the system has taken new steady state, if I push the piston back over here, I can get all the particles over here, and initially they will not be in steady state, but eventually they will reach the steady state. In this process, as the system passes through non-steady states, this process is still an irreversible process. Okay, so now what is equilibrium condition? Equilibrium condition is nothing but the steady state. And what is steady state? How have we defined steady state? When system is in a particular macro state which has maximum number of microstates, we say that the system is in steady state. Now why? Because if we observe the system number of times, then each microstate has same probability. That means for the system particles to take any configuration out of possible configurations. When we took 4 particles, there are 16 different configurations. For the 4 particles to be in any one of these configurations, the probability is same. Okay. Now, macrostate is defined based on some other macroscopic parameter of the system. For example, if we are talking about the total magnetic moment of the system. So, macroscopic parameter which is having maximum number of different configurations connected to that or giving you that particular value is going to decide the steady state of the system. Because there are large number of microstates connected to this particular state of the system, we say that this particular state is most random state. That means even if I know that the total magnetic moment of the system is going to be zero when it is in steady state. To get the total magnetic moment to be zero, the particles in the system can get distributed among different levels in large number of possible ways. So the number of microstates, which is nothing but the number of configurations giving us total magnetic moment equal to zero, is maximum. And that means the particles are moving or changing their positions more often. And so we say that this particular state is most random state. Okay, so equilibrium condition is nothing but most random condition. So every microstate has the same probability of existence. That is the equiprobability postulate. Now we'll come to a concept of statistical ensemble. This statistical ensemble concept was developed by Gibbs in 1902. So we can study this whole system, whatever system you have, in different ways. And one way is this: actually take large number of identical systems. So if you have your system as a set of 100 coins, okay, to actually study the possibilities of different parameters of this particular system, you take sets of 100 coins, large number of sets of 100 coins. So each set should be identical to your original system. So if I have 100 fair coins, I should have large number of sets of 100 fair coins. So each set is identical to my original system. And then this full group of identical systems is called as a statistical ensemble. Okay. Now, how do we study then the different parameters of the system looking at this ensemble? So if you want to measure some parameter of your system, what you can do is you can actually take reading of, say the parameter is energy, total energy of the system. Okay, so you can take the reading of total energy of all the systems which are identical to each other in the ensemble at a given time. Clear? So I am going to measure energy and I have n number of identical systems. So at a given time, I will measure energy of every system which is the part of ensemble and note down the energies. So what is an ensemble? Ensemble is a group of identical systems. So you have one particular system which you want to observe and study. So you will have to take large number of systems which are identical to the system which you want to study. So ensemble is a group of all such identical systems. And now we are saying that this mu is nothing but this total number of identical systems which is making the ensemble that we are going to study. Okay, or we are going to observe. Now we are saying that so this probability PR will be equal to mu r upon nu, where mu r is the number of systems which are in macrostate R out of total number of systems, that is nu. So PR is equal to mu r upon nu. Now let energy of the system in rth state is UR. So what is the average value of energy of the system then? So average value of energy of the system, that is the U bar of the ensemble now, will be equal to summation over R UR PR. How did we come to this equation? So it is nothing but weighted average. So let's have a look at this equation. Summation over R, where R is the number of the macro state. Summation over R of mu R UR, where mu R is the number of systems which are having energy UR. This is the number out of total number nu. So this divided by total number nu, which we can write as summation over R nu R, will give us the average energy of the ensemble, and that is nothing but the weighted average over here. And so this, which summation over R nu R can be written as nu. So this is nothing but summation over R mu R UR upon nu. nu being constant can be taken inside, and we can write then nu r upon nu, as we have written here PR as nu r upon nu. So we can then get the equation for u bar of ensemble as summation over r PR ur. So nu is the total number of identical systems as part of the ensemble. Nu r is the number of systems in a macrostate R with energy ur. Ur is the energy associated with the rth macrostate. Then PR is the probability that system under observation is in rth macrostate. And so then PR will be equal to nu r upon nu, where nu r is the number of systems which are in the rth macrostate out of total number of systems in the ensemble, that is nu. Now let energy of the system in rth state is ur. So what is the average value of energy of the system then? So average value of energy of the system, that is the u bar of the ensemble now, will be equal to summation over r ur PR. How did we come to this equation? So it is nothing but weighted average. So let's have a look at this equation. Summation over r, where r is the number of the macrostate. Summation of over r of nu r ur, where nu r is the number of systems which are having energy ur. This is the number out of total number nu. So this divided by total number nu, which we can write as summation over r nu r, will give us the average energy of the ensemble, and that is nothing but the weighted average over here. And so this, which summation over r nu r can be written as nu. So this is nothing but summation over r nu r ur upon nu. Nu being constant can be taken inside, and we can write then nu r upon nu, as we have written here PR as nu r upon nu. Here, while writing this equation, now instead of taking a specific parameter of the system, that is u, I am taking any general parameter y. So tomorrow, if you are going to talk about some other parameter of the system, you will be using the same equation as ensemble average for that parameter. So y bar will be equal to summation over r yr PR. We have talked about ensemble average. In the next lecture, I will talk about the time average. Thank you.